So good morning, we're back again and I'm going to give you a review of the Australian Open, which is now entering week 2. Of course, the Australian Open is the big event on the Australian Bowls calendar, and a number of New Zealanders have made the journey across to line up, and I can tell you that in the men's and women's singles they're right down to the last 4, I think it is now, and none of the New Zealanders unfortunately made their way through to that part of the event, with the best performed New Zealand players who got through the last 32 with Nicole Toomey of Wellington and Sean Scott of Central Otago. They went out in fact yesterday, but underway this morning we've got the men's pairs. It's post-section play, the men's pairs, and New Zealand combinations. We've got Gary Lawson and Mark Casey, Ali Forsyth and Seamus Curtin, Mike Carroll and Philip Skoglund, Mike Nagy and Jordan King, Matt Pearson and Dean Gilshan, and Kanu Darby and Sheldon Bagley-Howley. They're all playing in post-section play this morning. Also been played in conjunction with the pairs is the women's fours, and we've got the side of Joe Edwards, Lisa Prideaux, Wendy Jensen, and I just forgot who the fourth one was for a moment, but they're through. And as is the team of Karen Hema, Lee Griffin and Christine Hayes, Caitlin Inch, who's playing with the very strong Karen Murphy, Kay Moran and Julie Keegan side, an Australian side. Of course, Caitlin plays out of the Broad Beach Club. Joanne Cooper of North East Valley, she's playing in a Canadian side. Joanna, a Canadian girl herself, and they've qualified, as has Wendy Mackey of Wellington and Serena Matthews. In the men's fours, they're down to the last 8, and left from the New Zealand point of view is Mike Carroll and Philip Skoglund, who are playing in the team with the Scottish player Kevin Anderson and Ryan Bester, who only just last week defeated Shannon McElroy in the final of the big Blue Diamond singles event at Broad Beach. So they're playing in the fours. They're through to the last 8. In the women's pairs, we've got qualifiers in the women's pairs, and the New Zealand combinations or players who have won their way through into post-section. We've got Leanne Paulson, we've got the Lisa Prideaux and Wendy Jensen, Ling Q and Diane Strawbridge, Linda Milne and Christine Buchanan, and Caitlin Inch, of course, who is playing in a Australian combination. Wendy Jensen is playing with Bronwyn Stevens, of course, and Lisa Prideaux, she's playing with an Australian player. And of course, we've also got the over 60s, which gets underway as well. This is a great event. We've got about 200 teams in it, in the pairs. And interesting, there is 3 ex-New Zealand players all lining up in the men's pairs. Those being Jeff Hawken, Neville Hill and Rowan Brassey, the defending champion, the great Rowan Brassey. They're lining up, as a couple of other also interesting players. Leo Leonard, formerly of Timaru, well-known racing car driver, and Kepler Wessels, the former Australian cricket player, very loves his bowls, plays over on the Gold Coast. And Kepler Wessels, he's in the over 60s, and of course they've got the pairs, the women's pairs in that as well. So New Zealand, got a number of New Zealand players who are playing in both of those events. Also, there is the disability sections as well, where we've got New Zealand players. We've got four players over there who are playing in that, and that gets underway later on in the week. And also we've got the girls and boys under 18 singles, but there's no New Zealanders lining up in that particular event. So New Zealand is still in action on the Gold Coast today, right throughout the week. Gets underway, finishes in fact on Friday, and that leads us into now. I've got Kaushik with me, the high performance manager of Bowls New Zealand, because immediately after the Australian Open finishes, we start the Asia Pacific Champions, Kaushik. So tell us, what's the Asia Pacific? What's it all about?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. It's funny because we fly in on the Friday just as the Australian Open finishes. So, no, it'd be good. Oh, the Asia Pacific, everybody talks about the World Champs, everybody talks about the Commonwealth Games. Believe me, the Asia Pacific is just as important. You know, it's 19 countries there. We need to do well there to qualify for the World Champs, as simple as that, as do all the other countries. The good news for us is the men's team have already qualified by being the retaining holders of it. Absolutely. The girls still need to qualify, and I believe it's the top 6 in each section that qualify for the World Champions.
We'd be devastated if we don't.
Absolutely. So look, 19 countries, it's a qualification event. More importantly for us, we've got to get 5 medals. So that was the target with High Performance Sport New Zealand as part of our plan for the funding. 5 medals to of which 2 must be gold. So it's a big order.
So what's the preparation been like? What's the sort of, because a lot of the players are based in Australia and they're playing over there.
You're
New Zealand
absolutely
players
right.
and
Yeah. Look, the squad got selected for the championships in March, but they haven't been able to get together. We just haven't got the resource to do it, but all our coaches have been working with them without doubt. You've just mentioned the Australian Open there. We've got a number of our players who are playing in the Asia Pacific, playing at the moment. There's 1 or 2 that can't take time off to be there.
It's understandable.
Yeah. So the preparation literally is we fly in on the Friday. There's 4 days of preparation. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We've got some on-green preparation to do, off-green preparation. We've got a couple of practice matches and then straight into it on Tuesday.
And of course, the event has also been played over 3 venues, that of Broadbeach, Musgrave Hills and Helensvale. So in those practice or preparation days, do you get to play on each one of the 3?
Absolutely correct. We're quite lucky there as well because we'll come back to that. So yeah, we've got the first day we're out at Helensvale on the Saturday. On the Sunday we go to Musgrave Hills, and on the Monday we're at Broadbeach. But as you know, Chris Lelevre, part of our squad, high performance squad, he's at Musgrave, so if we need any extra training, we'll certainly get there.
Correct. I'm sure Chris would be accommodating in that regard. Now, just for those who just a quick recap that side. Of course, the men we've got Ali Forsyth, Shannon McElroy, Gary Lawson, Mike Kernahan. And
Jamie Hill.
And Jamie Hill, of course. Jamie Hill making a recall back into the side. In the women's side, we've got Joe Edwards and Val Smith, Caitlin, and Australian-based players who are spearheading the side, and also with them is Wendy Jensen, of course, who is back in the side, as is Kirsten Edwards and Nelson, who is back in the side. Interesting. I was talking just the other day to Brendan Hodson, and he tells me that Kirsten Edwards has been doing a lot of training actually, which is
on and off the green.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah, well, she said that Brendan, he was telling me that she's certainly been out there training, which is great. And I think the other good thing about the 3 venues which they're playing at, of course, used for the Commonwealth Games as well, of course, is Broadbeach. They're all good greens, they're all good surfaces, and sure, they might be a different speed, but we're coming really with a number of the people that have played in it, but the players like the Mike Kernans as a case in point, and Kirsten Edwards, they're the players who will quickly adapt. I think with a couple of days practice, they'll adapt to those.
It's funny you mentioned that name, Kernahan, because he's the one that's come to us very quickly and say, look, I haven't had much time on the green. Every second I've got on those 4 preparation days, I want to be on the green.
And he will be.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the sort of commitment we are. I think it's another thing for me to mention to you. So the World Class Plan, we talk about all these events. What we don't realise is part of that plan, we've got 40 odd athletes working with our 8 high performance coaches. The amount of work that's been going on is just unbelievable. Some of the stories we've heard, all those names you've mentioned, working with our 8 high performance coaches, it's been really, really invaluable.
Also, for people watching this today as well, I can tell you that we will be live streaming the Asia Pacific Championships. Myself and Brendan Van Nistelrooy, with our friend Ben from the Gold Coast. I'm pretty sure we're taking from the quarterfinals on, and
correct.
Depending upon results, etc. But we will be live from the quarterfinals onwards. We'll be live streaming all of the blackjacks, all the New Zealand action. We'll have you bowl by bowl live, and other updates as well throughout that time frame. And also, I'm going to be doing some work as well with Clive Adams from Bowls Australia. So that might mean that we bring some other matches featuring New Zealand sides in the earlier stages, because we don't know that as yet until we arrive at Broadbeach later on next week. So, but rest assured, to all you people out there, there'll be plenty of New Zealand coverage for you to watch, and Bowls New Zealand will be putting on their website how this is going to be channelled and where you can watch it, but there'll certainly be plenty of action. So we're going to have a good result. We're confident of a good result at Asia Pacific. So what happens after that? What's the high performance program after that?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's exactly what I mentioned to you before. 40 odd athletes in our 2 squads working with those high performance coaches. That work is endless. They'll carry on that throughout, obviously, the winter months, on the green, off the green. Thereafter, we've got the Trans-Tasman in November. part of the Trans-Tasman is also the multi-nations. Straight after the Trans-Tasman will be the multi-nations, or vice versa, I'm not sure. The key thing about the Trans-Tasman, the development team will be going.
Great.
So that's an announcement. We weren't sure, we hadn't got funding, we've managed to secure some funding.
Both male and female boys?
Absolutely,
right, okay.
yeah. So we'll have 20 athletes.
So when
there.
you say the word development, Kaushik, it's not like in the past where it's had an age factor on it. It could be who the selectors see as the development phase. It could be because am I also, well, I'm just assuming, I suppose, if we've got these events coming up, that there's also the manoeuvrability for the selectors if they. Again, some players may not be able to get all the time off work or whatever, and I presume this creates ideally a good platform for the selectors to have a look at other players within the squad.
You're absolutely correct. So previously the development team was 2 under-18s minimum and 2 under-25s. We are in negotiation with Bowls Australia saying that we can't do that, we won't be doing that. Our development team will consist of this. And we won't have blackjack players in the multiple caps, but we'll certainly look, age will not be a barrier there.
So for the players who are in, let's say, it doesn't matter which group that they're in at present, and at this point in time they haven't actually represented the blackjacks, this development side, and even possibly the multi-nations side, creates a possible selection opportunity for them.
Absolutely.
To be really putting their hand up in front of the selectors to say, look, World Bowls is just around the corner, whatever. Pick me.
Selectors have got the option of using that as well as the multi-nations. So it doesn't have to be necessarily be the same team that plays in the Trans-Tasman Open team as well as the
So the multi-nations, is that a 5-person side, 7-person?
No, 5-person. So exactly the same.
And then of course going into the following year, there's another Trans-Tasman.
Trans-Tasman next year, February.
February,
next year, which leads on to the World Champs next May.
So you would think that the February Trans-Tasman would be like the run,
the shadow team.
The shadow team.
Hey, we'll sit down and talk to the selectors about that. I don't think that would be the ideal scenario.
Would be a strong likelihood.
Well, it's funny you say that because the World Champs team had to be named in January. We went back to the World Bowls.
It's a bit early, isn't it?
And we said that's a bit early. We need a bit longer, and they've given us till after the Trans-Tasman to name the team.
Well, that's great because in between that, of course, we've got our own national championships, pairs and singles, of course, in Christchurch, where I'm imagining that yourself as a high performance manager and the selectors and coaches will be encouraging that all of those squad players to be lining up in Christchurch. And the message really is there now, I suppose. Make sure you've got a peers partner and get yourself to Christchurch.
Yeah, most of the squad members are very well aware that they should be there.
Well, I'll go back to example that in Dunedin another year when my mate John Macbeth, happy birthday for Friday, Macbeth, that John Macbeth and I celebrate the same birthday and exactly the same age, and I won't say more than that, right? But John had the opportunity to play against Shannon McElroy in the singles, and he absolutely loved it, and that's what the nationals and the players enjoy it too.
Yeah, I think that's what we've got to embrace. And you mentioned the Australian Open at the moment. Some of those teams are stacked up with these Australian players playing together.
They're pretty, when you look at some of the sides, when you've got players from the UK that are out there, Canada, the Malaysian side are just about all there in full playing before the Asia Pacific. Hong Kong, so it's a very, very much now, it's a multinational event, isn't it?
Absolutely
the
correct.
Australian Open. Yeah. So what about the para program? Because the para side did well at the Commonwealth Games, and we know what happened with funding, etc. So where's that program sort of sitting?
It's a really good question, Kevin. It would be so easy to say, look, we can't help with para bowls because we haven't got funding for it, but we haven't gone that way. There's going to be an amazing announcement coming up soon. I can't give you that announcement now, but there is some good news for the para bowls program there, but that will come later. We're inclusive of the whole program. They're not a separate, they're part of the whole high performance program. And we'll
Minister
continue.
of Sport, you should watch this and listen to this, Mr. Wright.
We are, like we've said before, they are an integral part of our high performance program.
Very much so, and if you look at some of those players, of course, who participate in the Commonwealth Games, not just for New Zealand, for a number of the nations, they are, they're very, very good players. And I think, and people need to be fully aware of that. Like Tamara and I, as an example, we happened to be down at the Burnside Piers, and Bruce Wakefield was. Now, someone asked me afterwards, and of course Bruce was in that side that won the silver medal in the para triples in the Commonwealth Games. If someone asked me who the best lead was on display out of 48 teams or combinations at Burnside, there was no argument who the best lead was. He certainly was from the whole. Absolutely. He was outstanding.
And I'm sure he's watching this. He'll love you for that, Kevin. Yeah. Hey, Kevin, just on that, it's like I say, I can't announce what we were going to announce, but what I can say is that we're working with the para team and the para athletes, and we've asked them for their results, what they've done in the last 4 years. So I've got, sitting on my desk, 15 athletes, what they've done, and yes, they've done well in para events, but the amount of people that have done well in open events.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's just... They can play in open events.
Yeah, so
and be successful.
We know the words used, but that doesn't take anything away from the ability. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So, well, look forward to that announcement.
Just before you shoot off on that one, Kevin, you did a fantastic announcement on the Australian Open where we're at. One person you missed out, although you mentioned the event, is Pam Walker. She's in the last 16, which is absolutely brilliant.
Pam Walker's still in there, is she?
Disability singles. Good on you, Pam.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hats off. Well done. Yeah. And also, we had a question about the development players to get the entry and accommodation paid for by Bowls New Zealand for events around the country, including nationals and the Australian Open.
Oh, look, it's a great question, and of course we'd love to do it. It's not a bottomless pit, as you know. Our funding got slashed. We've got 40 plus athletes. We've got 42 athletes in our talent development squad, high performance squad. We can't look after all of them. What we do offer them is that coaching package and the high performance package around it. Having said that, especially for the development squad players, we will look at some of the events, as you know,
yes,
and we hold 2 spots in each of those events where we'll pay entry fees.
Yeah, well, and that's in the defence of Bowls New Zealand in this regard is we've got a new high performance program in place. We've gone what I would just about say from, I'm not going to say nothing, that's unfair to say that, but we've gone from a fragile position, I think, to a positive position going forward. Now, and we've got to take our hats off as well to a number of the clubs. And what I'm going to mention, of course, is I'm going to mention Stoke, because Stoke this year coming up, running back to back, they've got their big men's peers tournament, and it's followed by the singles. Now, women's singles. Now, Bowls New Zealand, and then we've got the North East Valley singles, Burnside peers, and others. And Bowls New Zealand ideally want to encourage these development players to be in those events, don't we? Because that's their stepping stone, isn't it? If players can, I'm not saying win the event, but at least make sure they're in, get to the nitty gritty, so to speak. Put their hand up against the top players. That's what we're looking for. It's the same in the nationals, isn't it? And there's always going to be players. It's the way our sport is, who so-and-so should be in, so-and-so should be in, and there's a lot of players that may well that fall into that category. But it's actually about getting to the right events and getting the right results, and then you'll be in an opportunity to be part of, I'm not going to say looked after by Bowls New Zealand, but you'll certainly be in a different position.
Absolutely. We're trying to run a world-class program on a limited budget.
Absolutely.
And we're not scared about it. We want to go out there, but we can't do that without the athletes that we've got. I mean, they give up so much. They don't get paid for it, we know that. Not only the athletes, the clubs, the administrators, the whole sport. You know, you've got to take your hats off.
I do, but I do also think there's a change in face in a number of sports as well, Kaushik, and good clubs as well. And I'll use over on the shore, for example, where I know that Bowls North Harbour have gone to outside sources as a case in point and applied for external funding to help some of the elite athletes to make sure that they're playing in certain events. And, you know, I would say as well, the message is out there for clubs and centres. If you've got players who are in that whole New Zealand program or aspiring to be in the New Zealand program, there are opportunities to raise a wee bit of money that can certainly help them to make sure that they can get to these events, and and that creates opportunity for them to to succeed, doesn't it?
You've answered that question perfectly. Look, we'd love to be able to fund everything. We can't. Let's be smart the way we do it.
Absolutely.
And it takes the whole of the sport to do it together.
It's a collective to make it all work, and that's the way it is. And you're right. It was disappointing, of course, that we got the funding cut. But again, that comes back to, we know the reasons why. I'm not going to hark on about that. We're moving forward, and we're looking forward to positive results now. And that's where some people may not understand the pressure that goes on to the players in the Blackjacks at these events because of the funding scenario.
Absolutely.
It's not just about having the honour and that of playing for New Zealand. There's some other sort of hidden commitments which are very, very much to the forefront as far as Bowls New Zealand are concerned, aren't they?
Yeah, not just for bowls, for all sports.
For all sports.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Look, I'm certainly looking forward to getting over to the Gold Coast. There's no doubt you are as well.
Absolutely.
The team later on this week, Kaushik. I'm looking forward to getting over there the following week, and it's a great event. And it's fantastic to see so many countries from around the globe who'll be lining up. And I'm certainly looking forward, along with Brenda Van Nistelrooy and Ben, our Australian producer, that we're going to be bringing you plenty of coverage. And let's just hope that we're going to be able to bring you into New Zealand playing in finals, which is really what we want to be seeing. And I'm confident that we've got both the men's and ladies team who are more than capable of putting New Zealand at the Asia Pacifics right up to the top of that medal list. And I know the players are looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. No doubt you're looking forward to it. The coaches are. And let's just hope for a great New Zealand result. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching. And we'll be back in a month with a recap, of course, of the Asia Pacific as the season gets nearer. We'll give you more updates on what's going on with Bowls 3-5 and other sort of highlights that are forthcoming for the 1990-20 Bowls season here at Bowls New Zealand. Thank you.
Thank you.